Greetings and welcome to the Astronomy Picture of the Day podcast. Today's picture is titled NGC 7023, the Iris Nebula. So, what do we see here? Well, here we see a flower in space, maybe resembling an iris that is only about 6 light years across. And it is what we call a reflection nebula. Now, while we see stars in the image, most of the non-star objects that we see here in material is all dust. Dust is grains of material, much smaller than typical household dust. So astronomical dust, they are tiny grains and usually have a silicate or carbon core surrounded by a little bit of ice, but they are still very tiny particles. And again, much smaller than the typical household dust we are familiar with here on Earth. Now we see them here in several different states. When we look close to the star, we see a very blue color and where the dust is being illuminated by the star. This is the reflection nebula, and it is caused, as you might guess, by reflection of starlight. So those bright stars that have formed there, tend to be rather hot, emitting a lot of blue light, and that blue light is then scattered off the dust grains around them, and that's what we see. So in the dust, the red light, longer wavelengths tend to pass through it. The shorter wavelengths or blue light tend to get scattered and come from all directions, making the reflection nebula seem blue. Now, as we get a little farther away from the star, then we start to see the dust take on a darker color. Here, the dust is then blocking out the light from behind it. Now, dust in space does a couple of things. First of all, when you look at something through the dust, it is going to look fainter. So, in some cases, the dust is obvious, such as we see here in images like this, we can see the dust. In other cases, the dust is not so obvious, and that is going to cause you to overestimate the distances to stars. They are going to look fainter than they should, and we would think, therefore, they are farther away if we do not properly account for the amount of dust between us and the star. And as I said, in some cases like this, we can see the dust and probably get pretty good estimates, but there are places where the dust is still there, maybe not as dense here as we see here, and therefore it's harder to see and harder to account for in terms of determining distances. In the densest areas, some of those dark globules are actually regions of star formation. So while stars have already formed and have broken out of their cocoons in the central reflection nebula, in other regions the process is still going on. And could we come back in a few 100,000 years, we would then see a new reflection nebulae forming as stars start to form within this dust, and as they start to push that away, we would see new nebulae beginning to form. So the view that we have of a nebula like this is something that is constantly changing. We won't notice it over our lifetime as we observe, but over much longer time periods, the structures of the dust will be shaped by the stars that are forming within them. So that was our picture of the day, titled NGC 7023, the Iris Nebula. We'll be back again tomorrow for the next picture. So until then, have a great day, everyone, and I will see you in class.